अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta. Just want to tell you, like I had said, that we wanted to record the 500th episode of Hafta outside Delhi. We will not be, but we will be recording an episode because we got feedback from Dehradun, Bangalore and Ahmedabad, and we'll come through all three cities. What we figured is we'll plan it in a way where we come, one quarter, rather than try to, get everything organized for this end of this month, which would be a bit hectic for us. So, before I get into the headlines, I'll just tell you we will have two guests joining us today to discuss the issue of the wrestler and the Olympics, the Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat.
The biggest heartbreak of the week.
Of the year, man.
Of the year.
Yeah.
Of the year, actually.
But I don't know how hectic
how
your year has been. I don't know.
My heart doesn't break that often, so yeah, it's for the year. It's for the year.
So, and we will have a guest from Bangladesh, Farid Hossain, a journalist who will be telling us what's happening there. And Rudraneil Sengupta will be joining us about Olympics and sport. He's a sports journalist and author. Two announcements. One is we have a very detailed 20,000 word report, which was on News Minute. Now it's available on Newslaundry as well, on the case of actor Dileep. And it was a very, very, horrific case of what happened to a film star in Kerala.
This is a story about one fateful night in Kochi. Criminals on hire, a megalomaniac actor accused of orchestrating a crime, and a female actor who decided to fight. This is a case that shook an industry and divided society.
It's an 11-chapter story by Nidhi Suresh. You can check it out. It is behind the paywall. So all of you Mufat khors who often say that there's not enough behind the paywall to justify it, we have a fantastically researched story which took 6 months. And many of you say, why are biggest stories behind the paywall? Because when you take 6 months to do a story, either you take money from Modi ads or Kejriwal ads or TDP ads or Mukesh Bhai, or you pay like $300. So yeah, and I don't think $300 is that much, honestly. So do chip in. And the second thing is, senior journalist Srinivasan Jain, who also reported for us a 6-part mini-series during the general election, will be doing a series from Israel.
It will soon be a year since Hamas's October 7th attack, triggering the Israel-Gaza war, the worst the region has witnessed in decades. Yet, the Indian mainstream media has scarcely reported on the story. I will travel to Ground Zero to bring you the reality of the war and to cut through the conflicting narratives surrounding it. But we can't do this without your support. Support this News Laundry News Minute project by contributing to Gaza 1 year later.
And let's see whether he can get to Gaza or wherever, but he will
West
be going
Bank,
there.
surely he'll try and
He
go
will definitely
there.
get to the West Bank because we haven't had any first-hand credible reporting from Indian journalists from there. We've just been relying on Western reports. So I just thought that if all of us together could chip in and fund a credible Indian journalist to go there and spend a week and get back dispatches, it is something that I think even the Indian audience deserve rather than just rely on Western reporting. So I do hope you will contribute to that. So let me welcome our first guest, Rudraneil, who is a sports journalist. Welcome, Rudraneil.
Hi, thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, our pleasure. To introduce you to the audience, you're a journalist and you're the author of Enter the Dangal, Travels Through India's Wrestling Landscape. This entire fracas regarding our golden girl, Vinesh Phogat's lost chance, there have been some rather, as Manisha said, careless and irresponsible accusations of a conspiracy, which, there is no real evidence as of now. But at least, would it be safe to say that it is very careless and almost, irresponsibly casual as to how the process of who gets in what weight really works in our country, especially the one who competed in the 53 kilos, has not just not performed particularly well.
She lost in the very first bout.
And her entourage has been sent back. She's been blacklisted. I don't know what all has happened. I mean, just the management side of sport in our country.
In the case of wrestling, all the mess that we are seeing is a little different, because leading up to the Olympics, you saw what happened with the Wrestling Federation, with Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh being accused of sexual molestation and abuse, and then finally being charge-sheeted by the police, which meant that all our wrestlers were without a federation for over a year, and continue to do so. Then the federation held new elections after Brij Bhushan was suspended, and then brazenly elected somebody as Brij Bhushan's right-hand man, and they celebrated outside Brij Bhushan's house. So, it was a terrible situation for wrestlers here. They were mostly out. Vinesh herself was out on the streets for months instead of being in training or being in competition. So our wrestlers went to this Olympics without any national camp, without a head coach to supervise what happens at the national camp, without being having spent the time together to be a cohesive unit, a disciplined cohesive unit. So, for example, you pointed out that the wrestler who was thrown out of the Olympic Village, she's actually, when it comes to Olympic wrestling, a country wins quotas.
Right.
So the wrestler who wins the quota is not guaranteed to go to the Olympics. Different countries have different rules for this. Some countries send the athlete who has won the quota. Some countries then have an internal trial to see, because a long time passes usually between the qualification.
So whoever is the most suited at the time, right.
Yeah, exactly. So then the other countries like the US, for example, they always hold trials right before the Olympics between the best wrestlers in that category, including the person who has won the quota. And then whoever wins that trial goes. Now in India, we have never had a system. Sometimes we send the person who has won the quota. Sometimes we send the person, we hold a trial. Now, why this happens is not clear. There are no clear rules defining it. It always happens.
So you've been watching the Olympics obsessively every night, staying up late and missing a satsang in the morning. So, and of course you had said you were emotionally very distressed when this news came, because you were very invested in her victory. Generally, what do you make of the Indian contingent? And you've been following sport for a while. We're not saying we have double-digit medals, but everyone who goes from India, not everyone, but quite a few, kind of almost make a bronze. We are somebody today, aren't we?
India, I see some kind of improvement, but I find them very disorganized. As our guest has just told, these people have no trial. They are not even, given a lesson of, etiquettes. What they need to follow in what kind of country they are going to, what are their rules. They just don't know anything. And I think we have some individual, brilliant athletes who have done well.
Who kind of get there on their own.
Who got, training on their own initially.
Even India's first gold medal winner, his dad had a thing made for him, no?
Yeah.
In his house.
But this time the government is claiming they have spent, rupees 72 crore. In preparing, the contingent. But again, it's so irritating to watch.
Actually, I've never felt, you rarely ever feel bad for people. Publicly.
Empathy. Like journalists must have empathy. That's Manisha.
I never feel too invested, with these news events. But I think with her, I think I was in tears yesterday. And I have to thank, actually, this is also why good journalism matters. I have to thank Jonathan Selvaraj. Big hat tip to him, because as soon as we found out that 100 grams she's overweight, everyone Twitter she must have partied, maybe she ate. No one really knew what this 100-gram was. And Jonathan has done an amazing story on what making weight is for wrestlers.
And what is cutting weight.
What a grueling, awful. In fact, his piece on what happened with Vinesh also, he explains that she has fought in the 49 kg category. And because she's 56, like Rudraneil was saying, her normal weight is 56, it's always been very hard for her to maintain weight. So there have been, and this is a struggle that she's felt like through her career. And he's described that there were times where because they completely dehydrate their body, there are times when she would black out and she would wrestle on instinct. In this particular case, when the first day she made it to 49.9, when she made weight and then fought 3 people and won those 3 matches, it was completely dehydrated when, she got 49. She didn't eat anything. She was just on fluids through those 3 matches. And then
in spite of that, to get to where she did, man, it's insane. Yeah,
it's insane. And
that is why.
I was just thinking,
heartbreak.
It's amazing that they don't give up
in
midway.
fact, I don't think she had any idea that she had to go and fight in the 50 kilo category till about May this year, May or June.
So imagine she had 3 months.
I think she would have realized. So, and then she was injured and out, and she had a knee surgery. So incredible what she has.
On top of that, exactly like a knee surgery you're dealing with. So just look at the contrast. As a US gold medalist who practiced for 3 years, since 2022, 2 years, and our athlete
she started in
who
May.
got 3 months.
3 months.
To do this. And then you had jackasses like Hema Malini saying, "To bada bura hua. I hope she loses 100 grams." But
I don't know, why do they comment? They have no idea.
But the question, why do reporters ask her also?
Yeah,
Why are you
I think
asking Hema
reporters should
Malini?
not go.
Honestly, I don't think Hema Malini meant any malice. People started saying, look at that smirk on her face. I think Hema Malini doesn't even know who the hell Brij Bhushan is. She has no idea who Phogat is. I don't think she even has any idea that Parliament has shifted. She is clueless Mahoney from fucking hell. She is a sober Dharmender. Now we can move on to the other big story of the week, which is Bangladesh, which has serious implications for India. But before we move on to that, at least from what you've been reading, I don't know if you've consumed any international media on this. I've been consuming, again, some French media, some British media on this entire... Is it this Western thing? They have no hesitation or even ambiguity in calling her a despot.
Yeah.
It's like, is it a bit much? Is it a different standard that's used for brown people? I'm just wondering.
For sure, because they'd never do that with Pakistan till they had their interests in Afghanistan.
Well, they didn't do that with Musharraf, that's right.
They would never do that. And even, that's one of the contentions Bangladesh had during this election, that what is it about Pakistan election that you never call it rigged? You never raise an issue. But when it comes to Bangladesh elections, you're just saying that it's rigged or whatever.
So it's not racism, really. It's specific to Bangladesh.
Yeah, I think it's also because they've always needed Pakistan and they've been close to Pakistan because they need them in that region. Relevant. And Pakistan has a certain position on Bangladesh, which US has concessions on. So I think it's more about, what they see convenient. But actually, one thing to note here, Nirupama has actually written a very good piece for us, exploring all the nuances for us. Of course, Hasina is a great friend of ours. She's been very reliable. And we wanted the Awami League in Bangladesh because we've always had an easy relationship with them rather than BNP. But geopolitics and statecraft are also about...
Well, that's a foreign policy failure because foreign policy is about self-interest. And that self-interest is a part of it to see which way the public, anger is going. And also that shows how clueless she is. At least from the people who, I don't know what our guest today will say. But at least the guests who I've been hearing on the other podcasts I've been listening to, they were till 5 hours before she resigned.
She was giving orders to shoot.
She was confident that, dude, I'll crush these people like this. So I don't know how out of touch leaders can become with what's happening on the ground. Depends on who they're surrounded by.
For us, Hasina was as good as a stooge. She was agreeing to everything that we said.
Adani also got some big project over there.
We had this border, the human trafficking that stopped. Okay, there was some improvement, not much, but on the cattle smuggling also. Then, there is one major railway project that she agreed to. Right now, if you go to Agartala and Kolkata, it takes you 15 hours. So now there's a train which is going to cut through Bangladesh, and we are funding it. We have given 320 crore, I think, for their part. So it is going to reduce by 15 hours.
These kind
travel.
Of things matter. Yeah,
so she was agreeing to everything that we were saying. So I
but
think
we should have also had our ear to the ground. Like if we knew that it was going to come to this, then we should have had other options in Bangladesh to continue.
And the problem is...
Joining us from the United News of Bangladesh, which is UNB, is Farid Hossain. Hi, Farid.
Hi.
Thank you for
inviting me.
Right. So a couple of questions, Farid. One is the representatives of this movement, how have they been picked? Who are they? I mean, how are they considered the representatives? I mean, are they part of the heads of any association of students? And secondly, this entire, interim or the, caretaker government that has been picked, it has just been nominated by the chief of army staff, or has there been another process for that?
A very, very interesting question. They formed Facebook groups. These students, there were 62 of them. They formed Facebook groups and started exchanging messages that, look, the quota is returning and again discrimination is coming. So we should do something like we did in 2018. So these 62 students, they formed a 6-member liaison committee. Understand? So these 6 members, they were the organizers, key organizers.
So basically,
also,
the original Facebook group of 62 students that started this in 2018 are the ones.
No.
The ones who the 62 who the Facebook this time. These 62 have selected 6 of their own among them to represent the movement.
To represent the
I see. Bas मुफ्त में इतना ही मिलेगा. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.